Welcome to the 3Haunted podcast, where we bring you all things horror, supernatural, folklore, mythology, and all things that go bump in the night.
What's up, everybody? This is your co-host, Ashley Lunar Goddess, Gorilla Girl filmmaker and horror-loving cinephile. I'm just your average podcast-producing badass.
I'm John Thomas. Some would say that I go a little too far with my love of all things horror, paranormal, and meta, but I say, talk nerdy to me, and I'm all yours.
I'm DJ Sewura, an aspiring paranormal musician who plays live for the dead because the living just doesn't want to hear me.
The Dead of Winter Horror Network and Nick King from the 508 Productions invite you to endure the most terrifying immersive experience in all of podcasting. Beneath the Red Umbrella, now available wherever you listen to podcasts. Beneath the Red Umbrella, when the snow falls, the killing season begins.
What's up, ghouls, gals, and all of our paranormal pals out there? In today's episode, we'll be joined by special guest Michael Castro. Michael is a visual designer, writer, and co-founder of Ghosted Magazine. Welcome to the show, Michael.
Thanks for having me.
They're only noodles, Michael. I had to. Okay, we're good. We got it out of the way. Yay!
It's not out of the way. We know that. Come on.
It's not. I still have the maggot sign.
Not yet.
Okay, but to be fair, I did ask him. I don't know when it was, but I did ask if he was a Lost Boys fan. I'm like, this is the litmus test. Do you like the Lost Boys? Because if he had said no, I'd be like, oh, darn. We're all booked.
Wow.
Even though I'm the one that reached out to him.
Yeah.
But he did. He could have lied to me, but he did say he liked it. So we're good.
I do. Yeah. Not like a super fan, but I did like the movie. Maybe, 2016, I created like a whole t-shirt line for the Lost Boys. Yeah,
Ooh.
way back.
But where are these t-shirts?
Oh, yeah. It's a long time ago.
No. I think we need to like do a re-release, and I'll buy one.
Re-release? Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe.
Or we'll design a new one. Anyways, I'm sidetracking here, but you are a visual designer. So
Yes.
what does that entail?
Wow. Yeah, it's a lot of stuff. It entails a lot of graphic design, creative design. I work with big box brands or corporate entities. Yeah, I do like a lot of visuals for them. So when they run events, backdrops and printed materials and such like that. So really bring the event alive visually. I do like a lot of that production stuff for them.
So do you do artistic design as well, like creating the artistic elements of it?
Yeah. So a lot of that, they have their own creative teams as well, but doing stuff like, say, on the internet or marketing material wise, and bringing that into the print aspect of it and formatting those elements. I do help create a lot of those elements for them.
That's awesome because I'm not artistic at all. At all. I mean, look at our logo. It's a very plain and straightforward. So, but I was
that's
very
great.
proud of myself. So.
I love it. I'm proud of you for that. So don't knock yourself.
Thank
Sometimes, you know what? Sometimes less is more,
you. Yeah.
Perfect.
I'll take it because
There you go.
that was probably my only, and probably will be my only ever attempt at creating a logo. And we're sticking with it, right, guys?
Yeah, Ghosty is
yeah.
awesome. I mean, you can't, yeah.
People know what it is. Absolutely. That's great.
Okay. But we're not here to feed my ego. We're here to talk to Michael. So, Michael, you are co-founder of Ghosted Magazine. Can you tell our listeners what Ghosted Magazine is?
Yeah. So my partner, April Bissett, the psychic housewife of New Jersey, this was actually her brainchild, right? This is her baby, right? She always wanted to do one, and she would actually be a great guest to come on and talk to you guys. But she she called me out of the blue one day. I was driving. She was driving, and she said, "Hey, what do you think about what do you think about a magazine?" And I'm like, "Yeah, that sounds like a good idea. Sounds like a great idea." And me, I'm like I have ADD sometimes, or get super hyper focused on one thing also, right? So I'm developing a website for somebody, but at the same time I'm still like thinking about this magazine. So as I'm developing this website, I go and I create an LLC for the magazine. We came up with the name, we came up with the whole design aspect of it, what we were going to cover, came up with the logo. Probably within like maybe 6 hours, right? It was all done. And for us, I'm very visual. I don't know if you guys caught that already, but I'm a very visual person. So when I open a magazine or a book, or whenever I'm looking at something, I always take a look at those little details of things, right? So when I created the magazine itself, I wanted to create something that when you opened it up, it wasn't just a good read; it was a good a look. You know what I mean? Like the pictures are great, the graphics are on point, right? I wanted it to be visually appealing to people more than just reading it, right? Because there are a ton of magazines out there. The competition's huge, but I think visually is what separates our magazine from the rest of them.
Yeah, I love your on the website. There's so many different great pictures, and some of them I could tell that you you definitely influenced. Like the Illusion of Grandeur one.
Yeah.
That one's great. Like that's so good.
Yeah.
Put that one on
Yeah,
the site.
and you know what, man? I like a lot of those opinion pieces is just like personal experience, right? So we do accept article submissions from people to write and to submit into the magazine. But with anything you do, no matter what, I mean, even in my professional career with my business on that side, Danger Designs, if you don't have people that are like hypercritical of you or hate on your stuff, right? Then you really haven't made it yet. When people are like want to just down your product, right? And like just that's trash or this is stupid, right? Don't do this, don't do that. A lot of that is influenced in some of those opinion pieces, that I've written. And with a magazine, you get people that call you up and they're like, I should be your next cover, or I should be, you should do this for me. And I'm like, okay. Right. And I'm real nice about it. I'm a really nice guy. I'm never like, going to trash anybody, but I get a lot of that. I'm like the biggest thing out here. You guys need to write about me. You'll sell so many magazines. And I'm like, okay, well, that's nice. Right. And, I mean, it's great to be confident, I guess. Right. But it's, it doesn't make us want to write about you even more, when we get stuff like that.
There's a finesse in pitching yourself.
For sure.
There's an art. And you do have a signature style. I've noticed that in the photos that you post, and as well as like what's on the magazine, you do have a signature style in your photographs and your choice of like colors that you use with like the palette that you present forward. And I love it. I think it's vibrant, but it's also kind of dark, which is that a thing, Keem? It's like dark, vibrant, but that's what it is. Vibrantly dark.
Yeah, I think for me, and I enjoy looking back at like say our first issue, and then looking back at the issue that just came out. Watching that evolution for me is really cool to sit back and because I'm very critical of myself, right, on what I put out there, and some of the things that I've written and some of the pictures that I put up, I'm like, oh shit, I can't believe I did that, right? Like a year ago, I'm like, just a reflection of that. But I like being able to see, I'm watching it grow and turning into what it is, and even my photography, which prior to our first issue over a year ago, I took pictures, but it was like, kids soccer games, shit like that. It wasn't like, now I'm being asked to do like headshots, and I'm being asked to do like professional photos, location photos and such. So, I think that's pretty cool. And I do have my style. I've had other people be like, oh, that Mike took that picture, That's Mike's picture, right? And some of my pictures are hanging in some of these haunted locations, right? They've gotten them framed, or I print them out for them, So it's really cool. That I'm able to show people how I see a location, or how I see people that I'm shooting with, the camera. So I like being able to do that.
Who is this Mike you speak of?
Yeah.
I only knew Michael. No, I'm just kidding.
Michael.
Sorry, I interrupted your question, BJ.
Oh no, it's all
okay.
good. I was looking on the website, the historic Atlantic County Courthouse.
Yes.
So did you take all of those?
All those pictures are mine.
Oh man, I want to go there so bad. Just looking at all those pictures, it just gives you
Yes.
that like essence of like there's something else here. It's not just a
Oh, it's insane. I'm the only person that has been able to bring people to investigate that location. It's completely run by the sheriff's department in Atlantic County. And I knew the sheriff at the time, and I asked him, and he's like, fuck yeah. He's like, I'm all about it. He says, the only thing is that you have to pay the overtime, whatever that is, for the deputies, because they have to escort you around. And in that courthouse is the elections office. So like there was one part that we weren't allowed to go to, but they were like dying to show us all this stuff. And it was really cool because, sometimes we're weird, right? Paranormal investigators, we're super weird. It's like,
What?
who are you talking to? Like, what are you doing? But getting like the sheriff's deputies involved in the investigation, they were all about it, man. It was awesome. One thing that stuck out to me during that investigation is down in the tunnels where they used to transport the prisoners to the courthouse, and they still do use those tunnels. There's this electrical panel that you can pop off the wall, right? And as soon as you pop that electrical panel off the wall and you look in, there's this like dirt and rock mountain hill-ish kind of thing in there that has a whole bunch of faces carved into it. And that's actually one of the pictures that I put up there. And that's where they used to hold the prisoners that are about to go get hung. So these guys would like carve these faces into the side of what used to be the wall there. And that's like the last thing that they did, right? And it's still there. And it like soon as you put your head in there and as your eyes get focused into the dark, it's just like these faces are just like right there in front of you. It was pretty intense.
That sounds so cool, though.
Yeah, it looks amazing.
You actually went and stayed at I don't know, you stayed, right, at the Ed and Lorraine Warren house?
No, I didn't get to stay in the house, although they would have totally let me. Right.
So what's up? Why didn't you do it?
Yeah. So I went over there. We were writing an article on Nesper and Ed and Lorraine Warren and their legacy. And Tony Spira was like, "Hey, why don't you come to the house?" And I thought he was inviting me to his house, right? and I was like, "Yeah, sure. Send me the address." And he actually there was a conversation that with April and them, and she was the one that actually kind of like set the whole thing up. And we showed up early, of course, and we were there, and it's Ed and Lorraine's house, right? Which is nothing like the house you see in like the Conjuring movies or anything like that. It's in this like cul-de-sac. Have you guys ever been there?
No.
No, right? So it's in this cul-de-sac, and there's all these signs around that like you are being watched. You're like the cameras are watching you. No trespassing. And we pulled in, and we walk. I'm knocking on the door, and a very nice gentleman named Wade let us in. And it took me a second to realize that I'm standing in Ed and Lorraine's living room, right? And he's like, "Listen, no pictures. You just can't take any pictures of the inside of the house. But you're more than welcome to come in." I sat in their chair. I used their bathroom. He made me an omelet. Like we were eating in their like breakfast nook. I mean, it was super intense. That feeling. I was in the room where Ed died, right? Like it was really cool, man. Looks nothing like the film inside the house either. It looks nothing like in the film. It's just a regular house, but you're just like, holy shit. Am I allowed to cuss on this thing?
I mean, I think you're like 4 fucks in, so we're good.
Well, there you go. I'm known for that. I drop F-bombs in the most inappropriate places.
No, they've been appropriate.
Yeah.
You're good.
Okay.
No, we are not a family friendly podcast.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I just want to make sure.
You go for it.
Yeah. So, and then they opened up the museum for us, which is attached to the house, and I got to go in there and take pictures. And at one point, I said, hey, I want to do a video walkthrough, right, of the museum. And they're like, yeah, no problem. We'll get out of here so you can. So I was in there by myself, right, and I'm walking down. There's this hallway tunnel that leads from the main house to the museum, and then it opens up into the museum itself. And I'm doing my little filming the video, and I'm walking around, and I turn this corner, and Annabelle's case is there, like staring right at me, and the door's open, right? The door that you're not ever supposed to open, right? It's open, and she's like open, you know what I mean? And they opened it, just to fuck with me. But like, but I'm doing the video walkthrough, and it is like an intense feeling of being in there with these just massively haunted items, and to be able to like sit there and like take a selfie with Annabelle, right? Like my head in Annabelle's lap, right? Like it's
You
awesome.
did what?
It's awesome. Yeah.
You put your head in Annabelle's lap.
Oh yeah.
What is wrong with you?
Me and Annabelle got close.
Apparently. And actually, speaking of Annabelle, you have a really awesome shot of Annabelle with the door open at the museum on the Ghost of Magazine website. I think it's a great shot. That is just beautiful. With that said, do you ever get nervous taking photos of items like that where people feel are haunted or maybe carried like a demonic attachment or anything like that? Do you ever hesitate, like, whoops, maybe that's gonna get some of the energy?
I've over the past few years, I've really dove into this the paranormal, and I've found myself by myself in some of the most haunted locations out there, by myself in the dark, with an EVP recorder or my camera, right? And I've been around some of the most haunted objects that people consider to be super haunted. I am probably one of the most skeptical people that you will ever meet, right? I have had some experiences that I can't explain, and I've witnessed and seen some things. But I don't put a lot of, not stock. I just don't, I think the idea is scarier than the reality, right? I think the idea of something being haunted by a demon is a lot scarier than what I've seen so far. Now, not to say that, one day I'm not going to get my ass kicked, right, by something, but and I'm very respectful when it comes to that. I don't walk in there like, yo, fuck this shit. I don't do any of that. I'm like, and I've seen people do that, and I'm like, oh, wow, that's crazy. Like I don't want to instigate anything either, but I don't go in 100% like buying it, the story. And I think that's really, honestly, we as investigators, that's kind of how we all need to be. Like, I've heard the experiences, I've heard the stories. Let me experience it, and that's what normally when we feature locations in the magazine specifically. I don't normally like to write about places that I haven't been. Right? I want to write about places where I've personally had experiences, whether there are some or whether there aren't. And a lot of times, it's the story, the history that makes a place, really, really stand out for people. And but to answer your question, no, I don't necessarily get scared about any of that stuff.
I mean, the guys know I'm not really like, it's hard for me to get down with the idea of haunted dolls, and just dolls really don't do it for me anyways. But kudos to you for putting your head in like a demon doll lap, because that's even maybe pushing it for me, and I'm not even sure I believe in Annabelle. So it's just like,
Well, I
whoo.
didn't put my head like completely on the lap. I got close. It got
I
close.
it's still the fact you even got close because
Yeah.
again, dolls really don't. I can walk into a room full of like 50,000 porcelain dolls, and I'm just like, yeah, whatever, and like that would freak
Yeah.
John out.
Yeah. I run a location here in New Jersey, the New Egypt Historical Society Museum, and they just put in this exhibit of old dolls that they got from an old estate in New Egypt, and that room is definitely creepy. Dolls do have that creepy vibe to them, for
They
sure.
don't freak me out for some reason.
I
Like
agree.
I can't. They make me laugh, but
Yeah.
they'll make me laugh until a demon doll comes after me, and then I'll be like, I take it back. I take it all back.
Right.
Now, you said you'd had some experiences that you can't explain.
Yeah.
I mean, would you want to share a few?
Sure, sure. I mean, I've seen I think I've seen, right? I think I've seen like full bodied, persons like, peeking out from around corners. Um, you
That
know,
was the drugs.
it could have been, it could have been. Uh, but yeah, I've felt touched. I've been scratched before. I'm not a big believer in things scratching you, but I have been personally scratched. It actually was caught on camera by a team. Forgotten Explorations, I think, was the name of the team. That was the name of the team that came to the location that I run, actually. And I'm in the basement. We're doing SDs, and I just felt like something just rub, kind of like across my chest, and then it just started stinging a little bit, and I'm like, nope, fuck that. I got up. I have this safe word that I use for everything, right? If I'm in Costco and it's too crowded, right? I'm I have PTSD too. I was in the military, and I have PTSD, and so I have a safe word that my family knows that if I say Kentucky, that means we're dropping everything and we're out of there. I don't care what's in the cart. Like,
Kentucky.
we're out, Kentucky. Absolutely. And I'm like, nope, Kentucky, and I'm like, let's go get this stuff off of me. And they came running down, and this is all on camera. And I lifted up my shirt, and there's just like scratches across my stomach. And it was yeah, I don't like being down there by myself, in the basement area of New Egypt. But that was an experience. I've heard disembodied voices. I've had phantom smells like cigars or perfume. Just like a lot of the things that I just can't. Well, it was this or the swamp gas and this. Like I just things I can't explain. You know what I'm saying? So, but it's. I think those experiences are great. I wish it was like 13 Ghosts. You can just put on a pair of cool glasses and see. And maybe we're getting there, but
I don't want to see.
yeah, I would love to. I would love to.
Unfortunately, over the past few years, I've started to more, and I'm like, fuck, no, no, I don't want to see.
Right.
I feel like
Right.
I challenged the universe when I was like, I'm not a seer. I don't see. It's cool. I don't see them. And the universe is like, wanna bet? I'm not. It wasn't a challenge, but here we are. It's the drugs.
The drugs, yeah. So of all the things that you are, you get scratches, you get the smells and all that, is there any one particular thing that you're like, that you hope? I mean, obviously seeing stuff, but is there one thing that's like, oh yeah, this is awesome. Like this gets you like excited. Like for me, it would be the smells. Like I think that would be cool. Because then like for me, like even if you see stuff, you're like, it's just a weird shadow. There's something
Right.
over. It's not anything. But if it's a smell that's like that's not supposed to be there, I feel like that would like trigger me more. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think anything that any one of your senses, right? Eyes can always play trick on you in the dark. You never know. If you caught a camera flash, or you're always using flashlights. You never know, right? It's hard to trick your sense of smell, right? And so yeah, I agree that the smell is definitely one of those senses that is. Wait a minute. right? What the fuck is going on here? But yeah, I've had that before with like cigars. I've smelled cigars, and I'm just like, wow, that's insane. Because during the walkthrough, they're like, oh yeah, guys smoke cigars here, but who smokes cigars anymore, right? I mean, I do sometimes, but not like inside, And yeah, it's just things like that. I what ruined, I think, a lot of it, because I used to be one of those everything's paranormal, right? Everything's a ghost, you know, um, but with experience and talking to Kenny Biddle, right? I don't know if you ever heard of him. He's super skeptical, very scientific, and just kind of taking pages out of his book as far as like maybe trying to explain it more, right? Everything I will try to explain it as best as I can. I would try to debunk everything. That way, if I'm submitting it as evidence, then I know at least I gave it a good college try, that it wasn't what it was, right? But yeah, I think we should all do that when we're out there, and like, holy shit, did you hear that? And then play it back, and then see if you got it on camera, see if somebody else heard it, right? Just try to get as much corroborating evidence as possible to prove it, versus just one experience.
And I think I do that. I'm definitely more of the believer in everything is haunted. Like this light up here, that's not a light, that's a ghost, right? Like
There you go.
But
He's
but
not
what
wrong.
what I do is ask people like John and Ashley to, because they weren't there, and so they don't have any bias whatsoever. They just hear what they hear, and then they can set me straight, which is really nice. So
Right.
It is not nice. I drive you nuts when I do that. I'm like,
She
actually,
does.
it's this, and he's like, no, god damn it, it's a ghost.
I can
It's
vouch for all
okay.
of that.
It's okay. It's all from love.
but it's good to have people that check you.
Oh, for sure, for sure. And those are the people that are good friends. Ones that will hold you accountable and just be honest with you, no matter how much you think it's going to hurt. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but I can be kind of a dick. I should probably be
Oh, there you
softer about it.
She's like, "You dumb bastard! This is not a ghost. Like, look at this right here." And no, she's great. I want more of it though, right? Like that's why you do it, right? I actually had a question about like getting started in all of this. Like, what drives you? Like, what is the purpose? I mean, you guys started the magazine, but like your passion for it. Like, where does that?
What's your why?
What's your why?
What's my why? Yeah. That's a great question. In the beginning for me, my why are you doing this, right? I'm in like the dirtiest places sometimes, right? I'm in the worst conditions. I'm freezing fucking cold. Why am I torturing myself? It's because I want to know, right? Like, and if I'm going to do this, I'm going to at least try to do it right. So over the years, definitely how I do it has evolved. I hate using equipment, right? Because one person ruined that for me. Lauren Hellickson ruined equipment for me, right? She says, how do you know if your equipment works if you don't know how your equipment works, right? Like, and why is this REM pod going off? Why is this K2 going off? Why is this sensor going off? So evolving in that way has gotten me to be like almost like a purist, right? Experience, video camera, audio recorder, not a DR60. I'm not a huge DR60 guy. And a camera, right? And I just go and try to capture what I can. I think for me is what's keeping me going is that I think we're close, right? I think we're close to tapping in and figuring this thing out, right? And I think that you can apply that to a lot of things we do in life. Like you're so close, right, to completing this one thing, or you're so close to finding this thing, and you just have to do it a little bit longer, right? You just have to keep at it and get a little bit better, and hopefully you can find it, and that's really why I'm doing it. I don't want to do this so I can prove to the world that the paranormal is real, right? I mean, I believe absolutely that there is another side. I believe that, and I firmly believe that at one point we will be able to see it, right? And we're going to be able to prove that to people, and and that's I just want to be able to be a part of that, right? That would be awesome for me, anyway. But yeah, that's my why.
Could I ask you a follow-up question? You started to go into the equipment. I love like picking the brains of all the different guests we have on about the equipment that you guys use. Like,
Yeah.
I've been starting to use like just audio recorders, but like Zoom, just little Zoom hand recorders, right? Stuff like that. I'm not sure what you would recommend or what you use as far as that kind of stuff, or is that something you don't talk about, or?
No, I definitely, this is my Zoom, I use my
Okay.
Zoom. Yeah, this is like my primary piece right here. I will bring, I will bring a K2 out. I will bring a REM pod out. And those are mainly just for, bass readings, right? I want to, make sure I'm not sitting in like this electrical, minefield, right? Where my brain's just going to, start seeing shit. I
The
want to make sure that,
radiation, right?
yeah, absolutely. I don't want to, yeah, I will bring things. I'll bring cat ball. I'll still bring everything. I just won't rely on it to be my defining piece. I have to be able to prove it without. Because if you were to say, like, have a serious conversation with an entity, and they're, tapping your REM pod, you know what I mean? And like, oh, that's answering. Like, this is for real. Like, it's Morse code answering my questions. You're always going to get someone to be like, oh, it's bullshit. Someone's phone was on. It's triggering us. There's a walkie-talkie, right? But if you can have like a full conversation with something, on this, and I mean, holy cow, right? Holy grail type stuff. But yeah, I always bring other equipment for bass readings. Sometimes it's good to have like, like motion detectors and stuff. You never know if you're really alone in some of these locations. Yeah, I've been snuck up on by, trespassers before, and those are always fun. Some of these places, that you don't rent the location out for the night. You're in the Pine Barrens in the middle of New Jersey, right? Like, you don't know what's coming out there, right? So having things set up, helps keep you safe at the same time, just keeps everything above board.
And you made a really good point about if you don't know your equipment, then you really can't identify what is evidence and what's not. I see that
For
a
sure.
lot, and I'm sure you've seen it a lot, even with photographs that come out. Like, how many times people call lens flares ghosts?
Yeah, lens flares, orbs, the pareidolia plays a
Yeah.
huge part in that. Yeah, I've gotten into some of the biggest arguments with people over orbs and dust, right? Serious. Like, I'm like, why are we even fighting about this, right? They're like, oh, it's an orb. I'm like, dust, it's considered an orb, right?
It's hard too, because, and not that people need your validation or external validation, but when someone's presenting something as like, this is a ghost, and it's like, those green spots are flares, you are literally facing a hot light source, and that's what you're gonna get. And it's kind of then hard afterwards when they're like, well, I have more evidence, because it's like, well,
Yeah.
you kind of lost your credibility with me.
Right.
So it really is important to know your equipment and how it I don't want to call it faulty, but just how things can present, regular things, non-paranormal, non-supernatural things can present with your equipment.
Yeah, and I will say this, Lauren Hellickson, I mentioned her before. She runs at laurenhaunts.com. She runs like these workshops, right? And she sells these pieces of equipment that they're used kind of in conjunction with each other, and what I like about her stuff is that, she's like super smart engineer type, and she puts these pieces together, and she in every one of if you've ever ordered a REM pod, right, from the store, Ghost Hunter store, whatever, you just get the REM pod and you're just like expected to know how this thing works. When she sends you a REM pod, there's like an instruction booklet, there's a troubleshooting booklet, there's like, she goes into detail about how this piece of equipment is supposed to work, right? And then there are other equipment that go with it that detects microwave, detect electromagnetic field. It'll detect cell phone frequency signals, right? Like, just so that way that all together you're in, like, it's safe, So if whatever is paranormal is not triggering all three at the same time, then something's faulty, right? But yeah, I think being able to, if you're going to use the equipment, you have to know what makes this equipment work and how it works, right? And you see these equipment builders come out that just download the schematics offline, and they're selling it for $400 because it looks like the Mystery Machine, right? It doesn't. Yeah, sure, it beeps when you touch it, right? But why does it beep, right? Like, what in there is making this thing beep? So I think that's even more important. And we're all supposed to be, like investigators. We're all like supposed to be like scholars almost, right? When it's coming to like this equipment and how things work and what we're trying to find. If you have someone that just can't explain something to you, then you're not going to take them serious when they're like, I've got this ghost, right? But you're just like, I don't think so, buddy. Even though they might, and then they might have it. So I think it's very important to be knowledgeable about, all the pieces.
We do need to approach it like scientists. We do need to have that level of like discernment, right? Of being able, like you said, being able to really analyze and break things down. So then when you have finally reached I have exhausted every fucking thing. I am out of ideas. It's possible it's still something else. However, I'm really thinking at this point, if I go any further, I'm over logic, right? Like I'm over analyzing things, and pretty sure this is a ghost. But yeah, it's I'm with you.
I think for me, when I think about all of these things, you do the research on the REM pods and all that. For me, the one thing that I keep thinking about that I'm always like spirit boxes, like, are they really a tool or are they just a gimmick? Because I've had some experiences with them, but it doesn't seem like it's like, I don't know. It seems like somebody could just be triggering it from somewhere else, right? And being like, oh yeah, this is easy to fool people with.
Well, so when you say spirit box, what are you referring to? Like which piece in particular?
So
the digital apps you use?
Well, it's not an app. It's a program that I use through Windows, basically. And yeah, Phasma is what is that one?
Yeah.
Is that one that one's called? But
yeah,
like I've gotten some stuff from it, but it's also like it's hard to believe. But they are saying things that's related to what's going on.
Yeah, I think when it comes to stuff like that, like the Phasma box, the necrophonic apps, the ghost talk apps, I think those are great for certain things, right? I think if, for instance, and I call it like shooting fish in a barrel, right? If you've like exhausted all your equipment and you're not getting anything, sure, you can flip on that thing and you'll get words right away. and maybe you can get something intelligent. And I think a couple years ago, when the Necrophonic was at like its peak, right? Everybody was using that app, and then the Phasma box was coming in, sort of into fruition at that point as well. And then was the Ovulus started coming up after that. Right now, the app is the SPI app. It uses like AI, right, to generate like responses and stuff like that. So I don't put a lot of weight onto what you get on those apps like that. There are people that are making breakthrough when it comes to ITC. Ron and Lourdes Iacovetti, obviously they do their digital seance initiative, but Staticom 3.0 is coming around with Tony Rathman. Have you guys ever seen their stuff? No, they're actually like, it's insane the stuff that comes through on that, right? And it's not like DRV, right? It's not like radio voice. It's actually like pulling words and voices out of white noise. It's insane the software that they're using, right? And I would look that up, man. Staticom 3.0, they're like, that is some next level stuff right there.
I have such a hard time with the digital apps because ultimately it had to be programmed. It had to be programmed by a person, and the data had to be fed in, right? Sourced and fed in. So I have such a hard time with that. But
yeah, if you can look back at the notes, right, the developer notes, if they use like word banks, then that's probably not the best one to use, right? And it's yeah, or if it's like recording you, like if it asks permission to use your microphone, it's not a good start, right?
now I will say the app that BJ has, or not app, but the software that
Phasma box.
yeah, that was interesting because we used that at a I don't feel like I'm a paranormal investigator, but on an investigation, we used it, and I had that thing on my ears, and at first, because I can be an asshole about it, I'm just like, this digital thing gets full of it. However, there were some interesting scenarios where I'm like, oh, that's alarming. I don't know if someone programmed that in. If they did, they're jerks. If not, I think we got something, guys.
Well, the Phasma box also uses like a picture comes up too, doesn't it?
His didn't.
Mine doesn't, but yeah, there is that version too.
Yeah. I know that I used to investigate with a couple of people that use that like religiously, and I'm not saying it's a bad tool, right? It's great. I mean, if you're able to, like, if you are leading it and not letting that Phasma box lead you, right? If you are leading the conversation and you're getting intelligent responses through that, then that's great, right? But if you're using that to create your narrative, right, as far as like how you're going to it wouldn't be solid enough evidence, right?
Yeah, and that's what the other question is like, because obviously with these types of things, you ask it questions, right? And sometimes, like in one particular investigation, we played music, and then out of nowhere, you would hear this. That's a great song. And then when I was asking my friends next to me, I'm like, so my playlist is done. Like, what do you guys want to hear next? And then from the Phasma box, it's like, play something. And I'm like,
That's
okay.
pretty cool.
Yeah, it was intense, but I was just like, I'm like, what do I think of that? Like, do I believe it? I want to believe, but it's also like weird, right? It's
super right. It would be totally fine to accept that. It could be coincidence, right? But I mean, it just depends on what, like the contextual evidence prior to and after that, right? Was it still going on about the same thing, or did it flower? Right, like you just spit out.
You did that really well.
Yeah,
that sounded just like it. Actually,
it did actually. You can tell he's been on an investigation or two.
Yeah, a few of them.
So the struggle, and maybe let's soundboard this a bit, but we've got we talk about evidence and proof, and there is a whole aspect of investigations that I don't even know how we would start to capture evidence and truth on, and or proof, evidence and proof on. And that's for people that have the gifts where they can connect, whether it's like psychics, mediums, intuitive knowing, anything like that. How that gets proven, how that is solid evidence. Like, how would we even start to capture that, if that makes sense?
Yeah, so it's very interesting, right? Because if you think about it, 40 years ago, it would have been a lot easier to prove the existence of paranormal. But we've definitely have made it harder for ourselves with the advent of all this equipment and all the scientific stuff, right? It would be insanely difficult to prove it at this point to, say, a skeptic, right? There's a group out there that is offering, it's like $500,000, right, to prove, right, if you can prove it, if you can prove that you have this special ability, if you can prove that, you know, any of this stuff, and you would be surprised, like the people that show up, right? Kenny Biddle was telling me they were in Las Vegas, or they were in some town. I believe it was Las Vegas. They were in a parking garage, and this lady says, "I can control the clouds," right?
Oh my.
And she's trying to get this $500,000, and he's like, "Okay, well, let's go up and see you do it." And she's stood out there with her hands like towards the clouds, and she's, "Oh, I think I'm just too far away," right? Like, and listen, if she legitimately believes that she can move the clouds, right? If she legitimately believes that she can do that, then she's not necessarily a liar, right? She legitimately believes she can do that. She just couldn't prove it, right?
Now, I don't necessarily believe she can control the clouds. However, this idea of, well, I'm just not close enough, like that, there is some merit in that, though, because people assume that, like, those with any kind of extra senses or gifts or whatever you want to call it could do it all the time at the drop of a hat, and it doesn't matter. And it's like,
Right.
Anybody that has extra, whatever we want to call it, I don't even know. We'll call it gifts. Anybody that has these gifts, it's not something that just like, and some will say, I can control it all the time. I want to go in a room, I can connect to whatever. But then others will say, no, you can't, because it depends on your vibration. It depends on the room. It depends what's present. And there's so many variables, just like anything else, right? Variables when it comes to weather, variables when it comes to the perfect storm. And so it is hard to be like, okay, you can take me to a haunted place, and chances are, if it's haunted, I may feel it. I may be able to connect with what's there. These guys know I hate it. I don't like going to haunted places usually because I do connect and I don't want to. I'm one of the people that's like, no, I don't want to, no, I don't want to connect with these things. I don't want to intuitively know. They're getting me more comfortable with it. But again, I can also go to a place that people swear up and down, this is haunted. And I walk in and I'm like, it feels absolutely neutral to me. I feel nothing. Does that mean that what I perceive commands it all? That like, oh, that's dictating, yeah, this isn't haunted, you guys are liars? Or is it, I'm just not connecting with what's there? And so maybe I'm not close enough to the clouds that day, but
Hey, and it's possible. It's possible.
It's hard. It's hard. And then I think for people that connect in those ways, right? Like I don't connect to equipment. Like John laughs at me. We put cat balls out. I will jump all around them to see what sets them off because I'm like, there's no way if it goes off, it's something man-made is doing that. Something 3D is setting those off. And I have a really hard time trusting technology where as most people are reversed, right? They're like, if it has to be captured by technology or I don't believe it. And so maybe I'm a purist in that way where I'm like, it's got to be an intuitively it is there and I feel it, I connect to it versus, well, I don't feel it, but my phone's showing something. Like it's really an interesting field.
Yeah. And look, I think that in some ways some purists don't feel the need to have to prove it to anybody. They just want to experience it, and which is completely fine, right? It's a little. I think without the goal of having to at least provide, evidence or have it, it's a little weird to want to be out there to just experience it. If there is something that's like,
I guess it depends on your intention. Some people like the like that's
guess,
their
yeah.
vibe.
Or they're there to clear the house, right? Like there are a lot of mediums and things that are helping people, right? That's their intention. They're not trying to prove anything. They're trying to get rid of whatever's there.
Yeah, I'm kind of like divided though on the whole clearing thing. Like people want to come in and clear the houses and stuff. Like, I don't know. I think that if they didn't want to be there, they wouldn't be there. I don't know. I think it's a choice. Maybe if they are there, it's just a complete choice. It's not. I just happen to be here. So it's. I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like if we believe in different dimensions overlaying each other, and that aspect of it is kind of arrogant, I guess. I don't want to attack people, but it's like it's arrogant to come in and say, well, I physically own this house, so get out, bitches. Like, you're existing in this house on a different level. You're not eating my food. You're not running up my electric bill. I don't think you are. So, like, you're existing in your realm. I'm in my realm. Who's to say who really, like, dominates that? I don't know.
Right. And that's a theory, right? That it's, what you think you're talking to isn't what you're talking to, right? It could be just a complete upside down, from what we are, just another dimension. And it could be some guy sitting in his living room like, did you fucking hear that? Right? Like,
they're trying to clear us out on their
yeah, like,
they're like, the sage isn't working.
What's that smell?
What the hell?
Maybe that's the phantom smell, right? The phantom cigar smell is actually like their sage. They're trying to clear me out of there.
That's what it is. You thought it was a cigar. I actually smell marshmallows. I will occasionally get the smell of marshmallows that I've associated with that now.
You're
and
not
I'm
supposed to snort those.
yeah, well, you consume things the way you do. Don't judge me.
There you go. You're right.
Yeah, I don't. It's an interesting world. I think it definitely takes, and I'm notorious for probably being a little too judgy at times, because I think it does take patience and grace that everybody is going to approach it in the way that they need to, in the way that they can best perceive and receive the paranormal. However, the drama and the fighting, I think we can all agree that doesn't need to be a thing.
Dude, like, I think if we all just approach this from the aspect of, nobody's a professional in this, community, right? We're all learning. I learn from people who I'll show up to an event or something and they have different techniques, and I love to just implement a lot of these new things and new ideas and different ways. We're all here to learn, and we're all here to just kind of experience this thing together, man. And like this, I'm better than you, or I'm more famous and popular than you. Like, that's kind of like, whatever. Right. If that's what you want, right. If your journey is, you want to end up on, something, then that's fine. Right. Then I'm okay with that. But we can coexist. Right. Like, it doesn't have to always be bumping heads.
And I think for me, like, it sucks that's an issue, because there's so many like beautiful, amazing places that people can just learn the history about, and then if there's something there, then it just makes it more, right? Like, you're in the space, like from your pictures, like you feel like you're there from the pictures, and just I think for me that's the biggest draw, is actually being in those places and deciding for yourself and just enjoying the atmosphere, because other people, sure, they may have evidence and all that, but like for me, I don't necessarily care about all that. I want to experience it myself. Like, I just want to
Absolutely.
Right, feed that curiosity that we all have.
Definitely.
When did you first enter the paranormal arena?
Oh, wow. When I first started, like, I would experience some of the things on my own. My house I've always had like these weird experiences here in my house. And I didn't start like actually like hardcore investigating until maybe 4 years ago, 3 or 4 years ago. And then I attempted to join a team, which I don't play nice with others, I guess.
I was gonna say you're not a team player, are you?
Yeah. You know what? It's because like when you join a team, there's the one person that's in charge of the team, and they're like, my way is the way, and I don't hold that same ideal. I think that we should all just kind of do our thing, man, and gather evidence, collect evidence. The part of a team is we all like, you know, bundle our evidence together and go over it all, and hopefully we find something. But I just don't like the hierarchy of anything, right? Yeah, I don't play well with others when it comes to that. I share my evidence, absolutely, but sometimes others won't do the same, and I don't really care, right? I just want to share what I've captured, and I realize I could do that without being a part of a team. But you know, I belong now to like almost a collective of people that we share evidence, we share experiences, and I think that's really what has been good for me. But yeah, maybe like hardcore investigating, like 3.5, 4 years.
And I guess part of the doing the magazine, you find out new things from new people, right?
Oh yeah.
And so and then I think that's part of the draw too. You're just like, oh, I've never known about this haunted place. Tell me more, right? And then you want to
Yeah.
go do it yourself, right?
I think the best part about the magazine is I'm able to get the history behind some of these awesome locations, man, and it's been like pleasantly surprising to go to some of these locations and just see like, I mean, dude, some of these places, Belgrove Plantation, right, for instance, was beautiful, like a gorgeous location. I was kicking myself in the ass that I didn't bring my fishing pole. Okay, 'cause it's like right on the river, you know. Oh, dude, it was like the most gorgeous location I've ever seen, and you know, but then like to investigate it in this old like slave quarters and plantation style home was intense, right? Intense. And then a couple showed up. We were supposed to have the whole place to ourselves, and this couple showed up, and they had two young kids, and the owner was like, "Hey, you guys can't scare the kids with all your equipment." I'm like, "What the hell?" You know, but it was really cool. The location's just gorgeous. So I love like architecture. I love design. I love being able to capture these locations, and sometimes I love just being in like the dirtiest places ever, right? And getting my feet muddy and going out and investigating. I think that, right, the whole picture, man, is just, it's awesome being able to see some of these places and talk to owners and talk to people, talk to townsfolk, you know. I love it.
Now, I hope I ask this in a respectful manner. Not respectful. I'm trying to think of the best way to frame it without it being insensitive. Do you think that your PTSD from being in the military and serving has had any impact on your ability to be open to the paranormal? Whether it's you're open more to it, or do you think it maybe inhibits it?
Yeah, that's a great question, because I don't think that it's like a handicap for me, right? I don't necessarily think either, though, that it's an amplifier of some sort, right? I don't think that it does anything. I think if anything, it's maybe held me back from like exploring more of like crowded locations, or you know, going to bigger events, right? And or meeting other people. I think I have more comfortable dealing with the fact that I'm talking to a dead person than talking to a live person, right? Yeah, I think, you know, in that way it might have maybe crippled me network wise, but no, I think I'm, you know, I don't think that it's helped or hurt my investigations.
Yeah, never trust the living, right? I like what you
There
said
it is.
earlier. Yep. I had to throw that in there. It's a good quote for me, right? And honestly, that's how I feel. I feel more comfortable in these quiet places, right? It's almost sometimes you get the bad vibes, but also it's peaceful, right? Like it's just this emptiness that you're not, because an empath, right? So like I feel other people's feelings and all that, and you get overwhelmed, and so when you're in these empty places, it's just a sense of calm, right? And it's a different connection, and that's a draw for me as well, right?
Right.
It's a different connection to something that outside the 3D world that just keeps you going, keeps you wanting to discover more and the different kinds of connections, right? I don't know. I just, what is the weirdest or maybe the most interesting paranormal experience you've ever had?
The laugh is concerning.
Yeah, I've had a yeah, no. So uh I've I've had the weirdest one I've ever had is where I've had like my ass grabbed.
Just full on cup.
I have one of them,
Oh,
small tight Asian butts. So
they
it's like
got
a
the whole
full,
thing.
you know, yeah, they got the whole thing in one hand, and it was just like, what, and I kind of, I jumped up, and there's, I'm by myself, right? I'm just
Oh yeah,
freaking
you
out,
know
like,
that feeling. It's weird.
well, I mean, like, it's just totally unexpected, and just you're by yourself and just ass grab.
That's awesome.
Yeah, no, that was one of the weirdest experiences I've ever had. I think the scariest experience I ever had. I was in the Pine Barrens at this location is called the Old Brick Factory, and if you ever been out in the woods, you're by yourself, but the woods are loud, right? Animals, insects, like loud, right? And I'm sitting there and I'm actually talking to a Phasma box, right? And all of a sudden, it got dead quiet. Like, no birds, no insects, no trees rustling. I could hear my heart beating. And I was like, I'm just like looking around, and then the Phasma box like breaks the silence and it says, "Get out," right? And I
Kentucky.
fucking just, dude, I don't think, I don't ever think I've ran that fast, right? Like, I get to the car and I'm just like freaking out, like breathing heavy. And I'm like, what the fuck just happened? Like, it got so
Oof.
like eerily quiet. I don't know if you've ever like experienced that level of quiet before, like almost in like
Ooh.
a sensory deprivation tank. Quiet,
In the
right?
woods. No, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
In the
that's
woods, in the Pine
that's
Barrens,
weird.
right? Yeah.
Isn't that where the Jersey Devil is supposed to be?
Yeah. So the Pine Barrens is massive, right? So it's the Jersey Devil is probably a little bit more towards the shore, but yeah, definitely same woods.
Trying to piece it all together. I would like to explore the East Coast, just spooky places more. I would like to get to Massachusetts, Rhode Island, all of those
Yeah.
places.
Great locations up there. There are some great locations up in the Northeast for sure.
Now, what's your favorite scary movie?
Oh, that's a great question. Like scary, like what do you mean by scary? Like jump scary or bloody scary, or what are we going for?
What's a go-to that, like, if you're bored and you want to watch a scary movie, you'll watch? But also, what's one that, like, really, like, fucked with you, really scared you?
All right, so the one that like fucked with me like the most, there was two, right? So the first one, and I don't even remember the name of this one, because it fucked with me so bad I wanted to forget it. But I just happened to catch it while it was on TV. It was about these kids are in their house. There was these three inmates that escaped, and they like killed these clowns at a circus, dressed up as the clowns, and like was just torturing these kids all night, and like killed them all. You know, I forget the name of it. I can probably find it and I'll send it over. Now it's going to bother me. Now I have to find the name of the movie, but it's an old movie. It was an older movie. It was like Clown. It was Clown House or something like that. Old movie. But the one that fucked with me the most, because at the time of its release, they told everybody it was real, was the Blair Witch Project.
Yeah.
For a full 24 to 36 hours, I was convinced that that fucking shit happened in the woods. And like, I didn't sleep a wink. I'm like, that shit's real. Like, that happened. There's someone in the woods. That happened. And then it was like, oh, it's not real. It was a movie. And just totally got me. Totally got me.
It's so funny that you mentioned that because I just saw it was like a meme of them when it came out and then like them now, and I was like, wait, that's not real. Like even today, I'm like, they're using AI to
Yeah,
age them
right.
because they're all dead. Like that they all died in the woods, man.
Right. Yeah. They
Like,
all died in the woods. Yeah.
but I love that movie.
Or Candyman. I didn't look in a mirror for 6 weeks.
His voice.
Yeah. Helen.
His voice
be
is
my
amazing. I knew
victim.
people were supposed to be afraid of him, and
Yeah.
I'm like, why is he so sexy and terrifying all at the same time? It's the voice.
I went to see Insidious, the first one, in the movie theater, and you know, I was on a date, and I was like, "Oh, this is nothing," you know, I'm a tough guy. And then I get out to the hallway, and I realized my keys fell out of my pocket right in there, and everyone's out of the theater, and they're still playing like the fucking scary tiptoe through the wind, you know, in the fucking at the end of it, and I'm like fucking freaking out trying to find my keys under the seat. I'm kind of an you know, a wuss when it comes to scary movies. You know, I'll sit there with my
Do you have a favorite like subgenre that doesn't scare you but you really enjoy watching?
I liked all the Paranormal Activity movies. I liked those. They weren't too bad. Devil's Rejects, I thought was great.
Tutti fucking fruity.
There you go, Tutti fucking fruity. Yeah, I love those. I love Rob Zombie movies. Were really good. Yeah, but like jump scare movies. Eesh.
Now, do you have, because you photograph haunted locations and really cool spooky places, do you have a wish list of places that you still want to get to?
Yes. So I'm actually working on a book right now, where I'm gonna go take pictures of like abandoned ghost towns, right? Like a coffee table book of East Coast, West Coast, Central, right? Of abandoned ghost towns. Just gonna photograph them and produce a book. But my wish list right now, I want to get to the Stanley. Absolutely. The old Colorado. I want to get to the old Colorado Hotel. Also, I have Nevada City I want to get to. And I've been like trying so hard to get into the Cecil in LA. But apparently that's pretty difficult. But I got to get the right connections for that location. Yeah, those are my top 4 right now to try to get to.
All right, guys, do we have any final thoughts before we wrap this awesome episode up?
No, I just want to say thanks for coming on. Like, I think I appreciate all the paranormal stuff that I love getting into with people who like actively do it on the regular, right? They have all of these connections, they've talked to a lot of people, and I'm always trying to ask questions and get more info because we're all, like you said, we're all trying to learn and trying to be better at what we do. And if we can add something to our toolbox, that we learn from each other, like that's what it's all about. So yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you have any projects or any other, businesses or social media you'd like to shout out to before we wrap it up?
Yeah, you can, if you guys ever need any like table covers, tents, backdrops, anything like that, I print all that stuff. Dangers.design is my website. Ghosted Magazine, we just released our 6th issue. So you can get that at ghostedmagazine.com. I'm updating the website today, so all those articles will be up for digital release. And and official Ghosted Mag on Instagram, Ghosted Magazine on Facebook. I don't know if TikTok's back yet, but we're on there too.
Awesome. Well, thank you again, Michael. It's been really awesome having you on. All right, John Thomas, do you want to bring us home?
Oh, yeah. Like everybody said, thank you, Michael, for coming on. I love hearing stories. The Warrens definitely hit me. I so jealous. But thank you for sharing your stories with that. And thank you to all of our listeners for listening to this episode of 3Haunted Podcast with your hosts. I'm John Thomas.
I am Ashley Lunar Goddess.
And I'm BJ Segura.
If you have any questions, comments, or episode suggestions, please feel free to email us at 3hauntedpodcast@gmail.com. And if you haven't done so already, please like, follow, and subscribe to all of our social media. You don't want to miss amazing guests like Mr. Michael here.
Also, don't forget to check out 3hauntedpodcast.com, where you'll find all of our past and current season episodes, as well as guest information and all kinds of awesome merch.
Until next time.